Hello, guys. Can you hear me? Right on. This is awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry we made you wait a little bit longer. It just kind of builds the tension. Thank you guys so much for coming. My name is Pete Davis, and I am running as the Conservative candidate for Kootenay Rockies. That is here. Love to welcome my colleagues as well. We've got Scott McInnes from Columbia River Revelstoke. And Kelly Vandenberg from Kootenay Central. And this guy I'll introduce later. Yeah. It's a great pleasure to stand before you guys today as your candidate for Kootenay Rockies. Today I get the honor to introduce a man that's been fighting for British Columbia for over 2 decades. John Rustad is the leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia and is the person who has given the people of our province hope. That's what we need, guys. We need some hope here. The radical ideology of the NDP have put drugs in our streets, crippled our economy, and caused our cost of living to skyrocket. How many people are feeling that today? Because I am. Born and raised in Prince George, John spent more than 20 years working in BC's forest industry, frustrated with the direction of the province, and then decided to stand up and fight. He decided to run as MLA in 2005. He has been the Minister of Aboriginal Relations. John signed 435 agreements with First Nations. That's more than any other Canadian politician in modern history. Isn't that amazing? Yes. After becoming an independent MLA, he then joined the Conservative Party because he realized he must continue to fight and he cannot do it alone. And we thank him for that. We thank you, John. I am thrilled to be a part of this team, you guys. I'm so thrilled to help fight this fight. And I know that all of you guys are on our side. So with further ado, please help me welcome the man who has brought hope back to British Columbia and our next premier, Mr. John Rustad.
Thanks very much, Pete, and thank you all for coming out here today. I absolutely love coming back to the Kootenays and seeing the nice weather and the beautiful fall day like this. It's a great day to be campaigning, but it's more importantly, it's a great day to actually seeing all of you working on behalf of our candidates, getting out there and engaging and supporting us, the Conservative Party. Are you guys ready to turn the Kootenays blue? Yeah. Are you ready to turn the province blue? All right. I tell you something, today had the honor of being in Kimberley here in Scott's territory, and we talked a little bit about mining today. And I just want to say our mining sector in British Columbia has the potential to be a real engine for economic opportunity and hope in this province. There are 17 mines that are ready to go in this province. They're either permitted or about to be permitted. Those mines, if we can get them up and running, they would generate between 20 and 30,000 jobs at $138,000 a year, not only supporting those families and communities, but once they're all up and running, they would give the equivalent of close to $11 billion annually to government revenues. We've got a $10 billion deficit. Just that alone would eliminate our deficit in this province. We have to get mining going. We have to be able to make these things happen for British Columbia. And we've got a government today that has a plan to create a critical mineral strategy, to create a plan to maybe get a mine open if there's agreement with the First Nation. And I haven't got a problem with working with First Nations. Quite frankly, more First Nations people work in the mining industry than any other sector in the province on an average basis. First Nations like to be part of mining and those opportunities. But we cannot be going through a process to maybe one day be able to see a mine. You know, in Australia, it takes 2 to 3 years to go through and get permitting. In Sweden, it takes 2 years to go through and get permitting. In Chile, it takes 5 years to go through and get permitting. And in British Columbia, it takes between 12 and 15 years, if you're lucky, to get a mine through the permitting process. This is what needs to change. We got to strip away all that bureaucratic process. We want to make sure we maintain those high standards for environmental standards, but we just need to get, well, I'll just say it. We need to get shit done in this province. Enough of this BS. You know, and yesterday we announced what we're going to do to be able to help with affordability in British Columbia. We announced what we call, and this is my staff that insisted on calling it this way. I always have a problem, but we're calling it the Rustad rebate. What the Rustad rebate is, it means anybody who's paying rent, anybody who's paying their mortgage gets to write off $3,000 per month of their rent or their mortgage against their taxes. It'll be a tax credit in British Columbia. It's the largest tax relief for homeowners and for renters that this province has ever seen. And this is all about making life affordable for people in British Columbia. You need three things to survive in this province. You need a place to live, you need food, and you need energy. And government is putting taxes and burdens on all of those. This is why we're bringing this policy in place, to remove that burden of taxation on your property, whether it's your home or whether it's what you're renting. And in addition to that, we have announced we're getting rid of the carbon tax in this province, but not just the carbon tax. I tell you something, it's not just the carbon tax we're getting rid of. We're going to get rid of the low carbon fuel emission standards. And between those two taxes in British Columbia, one's a tax, one's just a cost, that will save the average person close to 36 cents a liter every time they fill up at the pumps. This is all about making life affordable. We're going to be announcing more measures that we're going to take to support the agriculture sector. We need to see agriculture production double in this province. We only procure a third of what we consume from BC. That leaves us vulnerable. We're going to make sure that we do everything we can to drive down those costs and see the agriculture sector, be able to thrive in this province, because we don't think British Columbians should be vulnerable. We want to make sure that we're supporting British Columbians to be able to have our good, well-grown, locally nutritious food, making sure it's available for people right across this province. That's a commitment that we've done in this province to make sure that we're looking after people, because it's just the right thing to do. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to get our feet back underneath the forest sector. Our forest sector in BC has been absolutely decimated by this NDP government. We have gone from cutting about 75 million cubic meters to less than 30 million cubic meters this year. 2/3 of our forest sector has been destroyed. These are families, these are jobs that are being impacted, these are communities that are being impacted, and I just look at it and I think, and for what? It's basically because of ideology, and quite frankly, we got a government that is hostile to our forest sector. We've got to, once again, we've got to strip away all the bureaucratic process and costs associated with it. We've got to make sure that we meet our high environmental standards. We want to make sure that we're meeting biodiversity standards, but we've got to make sure that logs are available so that people can go back to work, so our cost structure's in place so we can be competitive, and we make sure that our forest sector can continue to support the communities right across this province that have depended on it for hundreds of years. And this is only a small part of what we're going to do as the Conservative Party of British Columbia. We're going to get rid of the drugs off our street, and we're going to stop this ridiculousness of free drugs and decriminalization and safe supply. It's crazy. We're going to make sure we build out a full regiment of treatment that's available for people right across the province. It's a significant step that needs to be done, but I want to get serious here just for a minute, guys, because it really strikes at my heart when I hear about these things. When you see a 13-year-old child who has been suffering for addictions for 3 years, who died in a tent in Abbotsford with safe supply materials, safe supply paraphernalia beside her, I just look at that and I think, this is so wrong. I was up in Campbell River back 2 weeks ago. There is one blue flag planted on the ground for every boy and man who has died from an overdose. 12,000 flags. And more are being added every month. And to me, this just tears at my heart. What are we doing in this province? This is crazy that we be doing this. Quebec has twice the population of British Columbia, and they've got less people dying of overdoses. This government has absolutely done nothing. They've done nothing but hurt this problem. That's why we've got to get rid of safe supply and decriminalization. It is not working, and that's why we have to be very heavily focused on making sure that we have treatment in this province for people that need it. But I want to talk about one other component of that, and that is, that child who died tragically in Abbotsford, and there's a second 13-year-old that has also just recently died there. Their parents did everything they can to try to help their child. Their parent did everything they can to try to make sure that there was options for treatment. And what we end up seeing is the parents were helpless because if the child does not want to go into treatment, there is nothing that a parent can do in BC except to be hopeless, just to stand there and say, please, please do something. We're going to change that. We're going to make sure that if you have a child who's suffering from addiction, you're going to do everything you possibly can, because I know that's what any parent would want to do, to make sure that they go into treatment and make sure that they get into recovery so they can live full and productive lives. So we're going to allow for that compassionate, involuntary care and treatment for children. We're going to make sure that parents have that option, because what parent would not want to do this for their child? We're going to make sure that's available in British Columbia once again. Because we not only have to get the economy going, we not only have to make sure people can afford to live here, but we also need to make sure we're a compassionate government that's looking after people that desperately need it. This is what a Conservative government needs to do. And the reason for doing all of this and ending the crime on our streets, solving our healthcare problems with that big shift that we need to do there, the reason we're doing this is 1 in 3 people in this province are thinking about leaving British Columbia. 1 in 2 youth are thinking about leaving this province. British Columbia has everything you could ever want. We have all the resources we want. We've got a well-trained, well-educated population. There's so much that we can do, but we're hopelessly managed. And that's what needs to change. We have to be able to strip out all this bureaucracy. We have to unleash our potential. And most importantly, we've got to make sure that we're focused on keeping our young people here in this province so that they can build a future. They can have the dream of owning a home. They can have the dream of being able to raise a family. They can be proud to be called British Columbians, because I'm a proud Canadian and I'm a proud British Columbian, and I want everybody to feel that same way about this province. We can do it again. We can bring back common sense change for British Columbia. That's what the Conservative Party is going to deliver, and that's why I'm so pleased with these candidates that are standing here with us. They deserve your support. They're fighting hard for your riding. They will bring about the change we need. Thanks, everybody, again for coming out.